Wilson. Thanks for joining us at Cooking with Wilson. Today we're making bourbon ribs. And normally, I never made these before until I stumbled across one of my first videos I was making. Was brisket, a simple how-to. And ended up getting away from the pickle juice and just trying it with bourbon to see how the results were going to be. Some people sent me a message saying that's kind of risky. Yeah, but you know what the heck. It turned out amazing. So instead of pickle juice, I'm going to use bourbon on today. If you don't have any bourbon or whiskey, you can use pickle juice. I'm going to have all that information in the description of the video below, and you can follow it there. And you can trust me to know that I'm going to give you every tip and trick and kind of tell you why I'm doing certain things during the cook process, so you can also understand the justifications of that. And we're going to get to it. We've got our 2 baby back rib racks right here. I've already peeled the membrane off. I won't go into that process right now, but I do have a video for that, and that'll be the first thing that pops up at the end of this. So you can check that out. I'll also have the description of that link in the description below, if I can speak right to that. First thing we're going to do is make a mixture of what's going to be basically considered a binder when you go to cooking and doing things in smoking. It's going to be a mixture of our mustard, a pretty good amount of that, to cover both of these. You see I'm almost out, but that's okay. We'll be all right. And then whiskey or bourbon, whichever one you prefer. I'm more of a bourbon person if you've seen anything on this channel before. About like half a shot of that. And yes, that's blank. I'm gonna mix this up. It's gonna kind of be just like that. And you won't really taste the mustard, but you're damn sure gonna taste it, get a little touch of that bourbon. And that's not for you. So you make it like that, and then we're just going to basically cover all aspects of these ribs. Just like this. Doesn't take much, just want a nice little layer of that stuff. And it doesn't take much at all. So you can see just how little it takes. Taking the excess, we're going to put it on the back. Massage it brown. Really quick process, and it's absolutely worth it because it helps that rub stay stuck on there, which is really what you're going for. Next step in the process, now that we've got our binder on there, is if you want to have a little bit more kick to it, you get some jalapeno salt. Now I'm going to make one of these with some kick to it, and the other one not without as much kick to it. So get some jalapeno salt and just sprinkle across as much as you want. Does add a flavor, and it definitely gives it a nice zing to it. Okay, and then I've got 2 different rubs. Both of these have links to the description of where you can find them at in the recipes for them. That's my sweet rub. This is my best rub that I like. It's spicy. It's got a nice kick. So you want to cover it liberally. Pat it down, or also known as rub it in. Okay, now you can see that texture on there. Coarse salt sticking up, granulated garlic. You can use garlic powder, but the granulated garlic gives it a little more of a rise along with the coarse powder. At this point, getting ready to transfer this stuff outside to the smoker, and we'll reconvene then. We got our ribs loaded up, set up just right. Just gonna slide them on in there, and we're gonna basically cook this for 4 hours, and not gonna open this door until that time's over. 2 ways that I make these ribs: championship style, and the other one's foolproof way. And the foolproof way, I've had people who've never made ribs before tell me they've come out perfect every time. And they do, because it's literally like the word says, it's foolproof. And it's also the easiest way to make it. The description for both of those are below in the video. And the way we're doing it today is foolproof, which means we're going to cook these things at about 225, anywhere up to 225, 250, depending upon your smoker, for 4 hours. Get a lot of smoke into it. Today, what I'm using is oak. It's red oak, post oak. Oak is oak. I save my pecan for my briskets, but that's what we're going with. 225, 250. Try to keep it within that range. We're going to smoke it for 4 hours. After 4 hours, we're going to pull it, and I'll cover the rest of that process. And either which way you decide to cook them, they turn out great. It really just depends upon what you like. I kind of like how it falls off the bone, mainly because I can take that and make a sandwich out of it, and it's perfect because it literally will just slide right out. So I've gotten a lot of questions. What I'm going to talk about today is the water pan. Why have a water pan? And I thought about the best way to answer it for everybody. And so I thought about breaking out some chalk and just basically doing some scientific stuff on the smoker. Yeah, I mean, I can do that. Give you an equation, prove it to you. I don't think anybody would want to see that one. Then I also thought about, hey, I could put a temperature sensor in there, I could put a humidity sensor in there, and then I could take a temperature probe and put it into the meat and output all that data and create an algorithm that will process it and run a cook with the pan, without the water pan, and then show you the actual scientific difference between the two, real numbers. But then I started thinking, who in the heck really wants to see that other than maybe a few people that I know and work with? So I want to basically explain it like this, and where more people will probably understand it, or even care to. I lived in West Texas, and the temperature hit 120 degrees one day with less than 30% humidity, and it was hot. 120 is hot, but it's a dry heat. When I was in Louisiana, when I was working, one job I had was walking the cotton fields and checking for bugs. So I'd show up at 5, they'd drop you off right before the sun came up. If you were lucky, they'd find you around lunch. And if you were even luckier, they'd pick you up or find you before the sun went down, which was not often the case. Often the case they were searching for you because we didn't have any cell phones back then. And it would be hot. I'd be praying for some rain. And one day the good Lord answered me. 2:30, it rained. Half an hour after that, I was drenched. The sun came out, and I was steamed. I was soaking wet. The sun hit me, and all the moisture out there, and the humidity was high as can be, and the temperature was 95 degrees that day. And I gotta tell you, that, with all that extra humidity, was more painful and was worse than West Texas heat, 120 degrees. So what's a water pan do? It provides more humidity, it makes the air denser, and it helps the cook go faster. It's as simple as that. If you want to try it without it, do it. If you want to try it with it, you'll find out two things. It makes your cook go faster, and that's what this recipe is based on. That's what all my recipes are based on when it comes to putting things like Boston butt, brisket, ribs in there. And it also, the last thing it does is it makes cleanup a hell of a lot easier. I guarantee you that one. Now we're going to add all of our ingredients in to make our bourbon barbecue sauce. Really simple, not a huge process. Some ingredients, of course, but for the most part, you don't have to do it in any certain order. So put in our ketchup first, and then we're going to add in our bourbon. For me, I'm using this. You use whichever one you want to. If you don't have bourbon, you can use whiskey. So that's half a cup of that. I'm sorry, half a cup of ketchup, quarter cup of bourbon, tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This is our Creole mustard. Much different than the ground mustard we use for the foundation for our rub. Our soy sauce, our Worcestershire sauce, our molasses, which gives us a really super sweet flavor. I gotta tell you, the way these things all blend, all these flavors blend together with this recipe is just completely amazing. It's one of my favorite, well, it probably is my favorite bourbon barbecue recipe sauce. Got that going in. Now it's time to put in our onion powder, our black pepper, our salt, and last, our garlic. I've got this going over medium heat. What I'm gonna do is gonna keep this stirred, and then once it reduces by like a quarter to a third, we'll call it good. What we really want to do is cook off some of that alcohol and get those flavors infused into the sauce. Now it's time to pull them all out and get them wrapped up. Got the ribs pulled. Now I'm going to show you how we wrap them up. See that nice texture on the back of them? So the first thing we do is we take our brown sugar and we put it along the back side of it just like this. Just like that. Just crumble it up, let it sit nice and good. Then we're going to take some of our butter. We're going to take some pats we got to cut, put those along the back side of it, because we're going to infuse some more fat into it. And then at this point, we'll be really careful. So we want to make like a bit of a boat. Kind of bring it in like this. Prop the ends up underneath. So you bring the foil in and then come in behind it. And we're going to take our apple cider vinegar and pour that in there. And that's going to help break it down. And don't worry, you won't taste the vinegar part. Now we're going to take our barbecue sauce, just like this, about half a cup at least. Ooh, smells delicious. The ribs smell delicious. I'm going to spoon this about half a cup full all across the back side of this. And there we go. Now it's just a matter of wrapping it up. Be very careful with this part because you don't want to pierce. See the sharp edges of the rib? You can easily pierce this tinfoil like this. You don't want to do that. So be very careful. Kind of bring it in. Bring this side over. Flatten it like that. Same thing here. Flatten it like that. And then at this point in time, we're going to lift it up. You want it as tight as possible, but once again, you don't want to pierce any aspect of this because it'll allow fluid to escape and moisture to escape. All right, and just to make sure we get it right, you see we got a hole here, and it happens. No matter how many times I've done this, it occasionally happens. You get another layer, put it on, just like this. Cover it up, make it nice and tight. All those juices are gonna flow inside of there. And this thing will be falling apart, but let's call it foolproof for a reason. It's gonna go in there at 230, we're gonna cook it for a little bit, and then we're gonna slowly drop the temperature, and it's got a ways to go to cook like this. And all that information is in the description. I put them in rib side up, so the points are here and here. The curve is down, and we're going to cook them at 230 for 2 hours, and then we're going to start dropping the temperature. We've been cooking it for 2 hours, around 230. Now it's time to drop it to 200, and we're going to allow it to continue to cook for another 2 hours. And what that allows it to do is really melt down that fat. It's in the ribs and make it super soft, and your taste buds will absolutely appreciate it. All right, so now we're going to drop this thing to about a 175 and let it go for an hour and a half. We pulled one of these racks out. I'll show you how we're going to unwrap this thing. Take out the first. I'm slowly and carefully unwrap this thing because it's still kind of hot. Just to kind of show you what we got. And roll up the ends because there's a lot of ooey gooey melted goodness in this thing. And this is what we're looking at right here. I gotta tell you, when I say pull off the bone, this is what I mean. It's just that easy. And I can't tell you, the aromas that are coming out of this thing are just fantastic. And here you have it. Bourbon ribs fall off the bone style. There's not a single bone in this thing whatsoever. I like doing it that way because it's really simple. It's consistent every time. I'm going to go back to it's very simple. And it turns out just amazing each and every time. Um, you can finagle it where the bone stays in if you hold it right. Otherwise, if you decide to pull it, it slides right out. And I like doing that because you can do multiple things with it at this point. You can cut this thing in half. You can make it a sandwich. You can put it on a nice bun. You can do all kinds of things with it. You can just pick it up and eat it just like this. If you want, if you pull this out, you can go and return it to your smoker or grill and turn the heat up and start basting it with what's left of, if you have any bourbon sauce left, to baste it with that. And it comes out even better because then you're charring the meat a little bit, putting that glaze on it. My mouth is watering right now. But everything that you need to make this is in the description below. It's also in volume 3 of my cookbook. So I've got all of the cookbooks I put out. All the proceeds I receive go to charity. This one's going to be in volume 3 of the cookbook. And this go around, I'm supporting smiletrain.org. So all the proceeds I receive from volume 3 of the cookbook are going to go to them. And you can also donate directly at smiletrain.org. There's a link down below in the description. The recipe, again, is in the description. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you. And let me know what you think. Hit me up at CookinwithWilson. That's without the G because I'm country like that. At Gmail, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whichever one's best for you. And let me know what you think about the process, and let me know what you think about if you make these, because they're divine, especially with that bourbon flavor. It gives it a very unique flavor that most people never taste it. So hang in there, and remember this: don't give up, because great things take time. See you next time.